out on the high seas. It's a dog-eat, bird-eat other birds' food kind of world. You're never safe when you have Boaty to take home to the littl'uns. You'll have to keep your eyes on the skies, as there lurks a thief with wings blacker than his heart, ready to wring the devil out of you and set sail with your precious treasure. So, if you're a tropical island bird, you better watch for the shadow of the magnificent Frigatebird, here on Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And a very special thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at LD Taxonomy, or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And another very special thank you to our patrons, to Tristan Taylor, Jesse Raspolich, Carol Raspolich, and Richard Kaspar. Thank you so much for your contribution. And oh man, I can't remember what my spiel was. I do this all from memory. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on. There we go. So
yeah,
I mentioned this to my my uncle, who listened to a couple episodes, and he was like, "Thanks for helping us keep the lights on." I was like, "Yes, that's what I say."
But yeah, just a reminder: if you would like to be a patron, you can, for I think just for $5, get the before show. Us recording before, like our little warm up to warm up our voices, but ultimately it's a way to, like he said, keep the lights on. Help us,
and if you
show your appreciation,
and you get access to all the ones we've done so far, and that library will just keep growing. So if you don't have it now, if you want to check back in 6 months, there'll be a lot more content for you to check out. This week we talked about Airbnbs, our experiences, and or a little bit. And yeah, it's good stuff.
And today we're talking about the real Pirates of the Caribbean, but not the movie. More on that later.
Pirates of the entire southwestern hemisphere.
That's true, but also for copyright purposes, Pirates of the Caribbean.
That is the only time I ever call it the Caribbean.
It does sound like an A or a U, but it's an I.
And I think it's because I think we would call it Pirates of the Caribbean, but in the first movie, Jack says, "Welcome to the Caribbean, love," and then that's what it's just called. That's the whole series is called Pirates of the
Maybe that's the British
Caribbean. Yeah, maybe it is, or maybe it's the Johnny Depp way of saying it. Is just eclectic for him. But what are we talking about?
We're talking about the magnificent Frigatebird. That's not just an adjective; it's also part of its name.
Yeah. Whenever we were doing this, and I kept writing magnificent, I was just thinking of Benicio del Toro's character in Infinity War, where like Thanos tricks them, and he's just in his cage going magnificent and like holding his hands over his mouth like a weirdo.
I don't remember that. I think I've only seen Infinity War once.
Watch it again with the mind of like, what would I do in this situation? And you'll be disappointed.
No.
But it's called the Magnificent Frigatebird. Mm-hmm. Which is a mouthful. That is a title. That is an accolade. But they're also known as man-o'-war birds for reasons that will become apparent. But we're gonna call them here the boisterous ballooning battle birds, the redneck yoink club,
same,
and Rob the tomato.
Nice. Do you want to know what science would call it?
I sure would.
The scientific method would call this Uh, Kingdom. It's in the Kingdom. Animalia. It's in the. You know it. You love it. You gotta have it. You're inside of it. It's in the phylum Chordata, which is a spine that's inside of you. The class is Aves. That's birds. The order is Soliformes, which is what is that? Seabirds. Birds of the sea.
Are you asking me?
I think it's seabirds. A specific group of seabirds. And then the family is Fragatidae. And the genus is Frigata. I forgot the species.
I forgot to bring you a present for your birthday.
The species is the binomial name is Frigata magnificens. Would you say soft C or magnificens?
I would definitely say magnificens.
Magnificens.
Frigata magnificens. So, since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show. Critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal? Or what is the term of venery? Or what is the collective noun? It's all the same. If you saw a group of frigatebirds, would you call it A, a flock of frigatebirds, B, a fix of frigatebirds, C, a flurry of frigatebirds, or D, a flotilla of frigatebirds?
Flurry? Flotilla? Give me the first two again.
Flock and fix. Can you sense a pattern and a theme?
F.
You got it. I'll give you a hint. The answer starts with F.
Okay, good. I'm going to go with flock. Final answer.
You picked the most boring one.
Yeah.
And you're incorrect. These are ornithologists we're talking about. They are on their term of venery game. The answer is D,
it was
flotilla.
Dang it.
Flotilla.
You know, it was again. I didn't go with my gut. I went with my thoughts, which would be flock is so boring that it just might be right.
Yeah, you're thinking of what entomologists, the insects, or the ichthyologists, the fish. It's all schools. It doesn't matter. Why would we invest any thought into this? It doesn't matter. And to an extent, they're right. But the ornithologists are so just invested in their craft that they have gone out of the way to create vibrant terms of venery for most of the orders and families of birds. So I always love doing a bird. So I get to do critter groups, and I don't have to scrounge to find something to quiz you on. Because we're doing another lizard or something like that. But yeah, a flotilla of frigatebirds. It's perfect.
It's perfect.
It really is.
Okay. Would you like to have me describe it to you?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Well, males are all black except for their throats, which are bright red. They have a throat pouch that can be inflated like a balloon. More on that later. Some black feathers have a purple iridescence in the light. Similar species of seabird have green iridescence. So that makes these guys pretty unique. Females are black with white chests and brown on their wings. So they're instead of the red, they have just a white color. And then they also have a blue ring around their eyes that are exclusive to the females. So if you're looking at a bird that looks kind of like a frigate bird and you see a blue ring, it's like that's definitely a female blue frigate bird. You can next time you're out on the boat with your friends and family, you can be like, a frigate bird, a female, a beautiful specimen. And they'll be you are an ornithologist of it all.
You're the ornithologist of us all. And if you see another bird with a giant red sack sticking out of the front of its body, then you can also know that that is a frigate bird, but a male
Yeah.
this time.
Very true. Young birds have white heads and white underbellies, in addition to the black. So that's that. But that brings us to my favorite part of the show and yours. 1 second. I have to pull up my spiel. I don't want to be. I don't usually need it, but I don't want to be. Whenever I'm flying.
This is my favorite part of the show. The part of the show that's.
Yeah, see,
introduced
that's what
by
happens.
you when you say singer shitter. The words measure up to
forgot-
life death taxonomy at
Forgot the
gmail.com.
fact that it's relatable. Welcome to the Love Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal's size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's run for the whole family. It's also part of the. It's hard. See how hard it is.
I know.
It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have any measure up intro this week. So that means we get to hear from an animal. We're going to hear from an animal again.
If we must. Do you have that written down?
They do. I do have it written down. Wait, what do you mean?
I was terrified. I thought I
whole
lost
spiel?
you.
I muted it because I was vetting some animal sounds, and I wanted to make sure that they didn't say the animal's name. Yeah, I have the spiel written down. Sure.
Okay. You're a professional.
Mm-hmm.
You script it out.
Well, I have to be looking at the I don't read the paragraph. I just look at it like I stare past it into the middle distance, and then I can say the whole thing.
You absorb it via
Yes.
osmosis of the eyes.
Yeah.
Which is reading, I guess.
But every time I don't have it, I get the yips, even though I do know it. Anyway.
I feel like having it would 100% give me the yips. Anytime I have to read something, like my notes are just that. They're notes. I just talk from them. But if I have something like a joke or something that I specifically want to say, oh, that's when it all breaks down. Things
It's also
fall apart. Okonkwo style.
It's also an introduction to the just random like quiz questions and numbers on the page on the website. So without it, it's just like, what the heck is this? If for some reason you're just reading it, which I don't think many people do. But without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. So what was that? Would you like me to muster? I don't have a.
Yep, muster it. You need to muster some multiple choice for me. I'm not taking the ACT here. I'm taking the SAT.
Is it A, Pomeranian? Is it B, a fox? Is it C, a coyote? Or is it D, a hyena?
I'm going to say fox, and it's only because I was just watching a playthrough of someone play one of those indie Siren Head games, and there's a fox. Like you get attacked by wildlife in that game, and there's a fox that attacked him, and it made a sound similar to that. So we're going to go with fox.
Final answer?
Yep.
That is correct.
Yeah. Thank you, Siren Head.
So let's, I guess, since you got that right, let's give you 5% or cash back on your nursing school victory.
On my Discover card.
Yeah.
On all Amazon and Walmart.com.
I had the idea of like, what if we changed to measure up to make it, because it takes up like a good amount of real estate in the runtime of the show. What if we changed it so that like, instead of you doing math, I just tell you the amount, and you tell me what I measured it by, with multiple choice to make it go a little faster. But we can decide later.
It's 20 of this. Is it A, the biggest cake in the world?
Well, I'll say like it's 20 Frigatebirds. Yeah. What? It's like it's like this thing. Like it'll almost be like a Jeopardy question. I'll be like, this thing is 20, blah, blah, like, and have a little hint and then be like, and it's also 20 Frigatebirds long or something like that.
This thing, built in 1968, is 20
Yes.
Frigatebirds long.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Was that a good Alex Trebek impression or a bad one? I never really watched Jeopardy.
That's pretty decent. Now it's a Miam Bialik and Friends.
What?
And it's a woman's name who does Jeopardy now that Alex Trebek is dead.
Miam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Miam.
Miam. Yeah.
I've heard it said Miam, but I don't know. Miam
I'm gonna
Bialik
tell
is
you.
probably just as right.
It sounds like you're trying to be a cat. Meow Bialik. That was very jellical of you, I have to say.
Let's talk length. They're between 89 and 114 centimeters, or 2 feet and 11 inches to 3 feet and 9 inches. How many Frigatebirds go into the longest ever soccer goal? And that means like the longest distance somebody kicked a soccer ball in a game to a soccer to get a goal, not the size of the goal.
It would have to be. Anyway, give me your fast fact.
Here's a hint: it's not fast; it's regular speed.
Okay.
The goal was made by Tom King, playing for Newport County in the UK in January 2021. Recent. It's a recent record. We got an RR here. Too bad England couldn't stop the long shot that the U.S. brought them on the 26th.
Yeah, I forget that the World Cup is happening until I like jump on a meeting with some of my coworkers, and a lot of them are based in London, and they talk about it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's going on.
Well, this year I've been very aware of it because of the hilarious memes of I guess on the internet, in the various tubes on the internet, the UK fans were absolutely trolling us and making fun of the US team, and then we tied. It was like a complete underdog, long shot apparently, and then we tied. So it's just there's been a ton of really funny memes where it's Americans dunking on the British with over the top patriotic stuff for a tie, and that's just tickled me pink.
Dunking on the British with tea.
Yeah.
Interesting. Man, if there was a sport I was gonna get into and watch, soccer would be so far down the list.
Well, there was a fun after a goal. After the tie. I don't know if I was gonna say after a goal, but there wasn't a goal. It was 0-0. One of the players on the U.S. team lifted up his shirt to reveal an undershirt, and on the undershirt it said, "It's called soccer," and that just pickles my prawns. I like that a lot.
It pickles your prawns. For a lot of people, I bet it chapped their khakis though.
Yeah. Pickled prawns. Pickled my prawns sounds like another version of chapped my khakis.
Yeah, grinds my gears. It's one of those things where it's I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing. But it reminded me of tickled pink, and so
yes, that's yeah.
So anyway, that's about all I want to think about soccer for a month. That's my my mental allotment, my psychic allotment for soccer every month is a grand total of 6 minutes
0.
of conversation.
So
I'm going to say 80 because
kick.
I'm going to assume that this person kicked it from the other goal. And I don't know how large soccer fields are, but I know that in high schools they just use football fields as soccer fields.
They're aren't standardized.
They're probably not all the same, but that's all I've got to go on. I'm going to assume that it's a 100-yard.
I learned that
field.
on Ted Lasso that some of them are bigger than others.
That would be good knowledge to know for this particular instance. But I don't know it, so I'm going to assume it's 100 yards, which means it's 80 Frigatebirds.
Final answer?
Yep.
The correct answer was 84 Frigatebirds.
That is a win. A win for me.
The goal
Not
was
a 0 to
96.
0. That is a 1 to 0 win.
The goal was 96 meters or 315 feet.
Nice. I figured that you can't make it wouldn't in a game you can't make a goal that's longer than the field itself. So that's about all I had to go on.
Yeah, no, I don't think you could.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often though. Whoops, I dropped my mouse. But
But like you could see
it's
the only reason is
these
like
people kick a long way. They're good at kicking. That's what they do. That's what they're here for.
You can, but the goalie will have like so much time to react to like the trajectory of it. The problem was it bounced in such a way that it perfectly like was too high for him because he was up a little bit. He was going to like I guess catch it or something, but then it bounced and it went over his head in such a way that he couldn't possibly reach it and bounced in. But that's that. We don't have to talk about soccer anymore. Unless the U.S. wins at all, in which case we must. Let's talk weight. 1.1 to 1.59 kilograms, or 2 pounds, 7 ounces, to 3 pounds, 8 ounces. How many Frigatebirds go into the weight of the
How many
manhole
freaking birds?
I didn't say that.
That's what you said.
How many freaking birds go into the weight?
It's like, calm down. Why are you so mad?
How many Frigatebirds go into the weight of the manhole covers stolen in New York City in the spring of 2012?
What is the weight again? I mean, what is the weight of the bird again? I got really distracted when you said freaking birds.
3 pounds, 8 ounces.
Okay.
I didn't say freaking birds.
Oh, yeah.
I guess frigate sounds like friggin' if you say it
sure
fast
does.
enough.
So that's 3.5 pounds.
Here's a hint. Every once in a while, manhole cover crime sprees crop up in major cities, despite the fact that they are extremely heavy, in public areas, and only sell to scrap dealers for around $30. It is a crime not worth committing, and people do it all the time. Pound for pound, they may be less valuable than collecting cans. Obviously, like it's a big score all at once, but like if you can find the same weight in cans, you get the same, like more money.
Yeah, we got to find a lot of cans.
Yeah, but like they're not. So in 2012, a New York City man dressed in a reflective vest and carried a men working sign to steal manhole covers that were around 300 pounds.
That's very helpful information.
In reality, they were probably different weights. Sidewalk manhole covers are lighter than road covers, obviously. The sidewalk ones don't need to be thick as thieves.
And this is the Frigatebird. It's a thief.
And so is the person stealing manhole covers. But the New York Times reported that many of them were actually 300 pounds. So we're going to assume they all were for the math.
All right.
Like, we're kind of like, why would you want to like steal something that's 300 pounds that only sells for $30?
Because you're making a collage out of manhole covers in your weird manhole cover basement. And you need you're trying to make a wall out of manhole covers and so you're going to need one particular resource, and that's manhole covers. I'm going to say 6,800. I'm going to assume that there were 80 stolen in 2012.
Final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer is 2,228.
Oh, this guy's a small-time criminal.
Yeah, he sucks.
I thought that he was organized.
The thieves stole 26 covers, totaling 7,800 pounds.
He didn't even try.
There are apparently more intense and magnificent crime sprees involving manhole covers in L.A., like particularly one in 1990, but I couldn't find any corroborating evidence, just a dubious site that was talking about that the biggest things stolen. And
was the site manholecovers4me.net? It's the black market manhole cover trading site.
Yeah, apparently there is a black market for manhole covers.
Can you get it minted as an NFT?
No, because it's a physical object.
But take a picture of it.
Yeah, a picture of it.
Digitize me, Captain. That's what the manhole cover is crying out. Interesting.
Yeah. Stop doing that. It causes more problems than it's worth. It also leaves 2 foot wide gaps for people to fall into and break their femurs.
Yeah, how far down does that go? I mean, I've never
a good amount.
Never opened one or gone down one. I've just seen the movies, and it's like 20 feet or something like that. It's like a ladder you need. Maybe not that much, but
isn't that one of the things in the King of the Hill scaling videos where one of them moves a manhole cover with ease, and it's that's 300 pounds, and
he blew on it really hard, and it flew over. Look at the power of those lungs.
Okay, would you like to hear some fast facts before we get into the major fact?
Yeah, I would. I think I'm done saying manhole for the rest of the video.
All right,
the rest of the podcast.
All right, let's close our manholes and get to this.
Okay.
Let's talk range. The magnificent Frigatebird lives all over the tropical Atlantic. They live in Florida, the Caribbean, and along the Pacific coast, especially on the other side of the Panama Canal in that area. But all over the Pacific coasts of North and South America. But they can also be found outside their typical range in the Galapagos Islands, in Canada, Europe, the UK, Denmark, Spain, Nova Scotia. On Wikipedia, under range, they said they live in other places outside their normal range, they live in the UK and also the Isle of Man, which is a little island in the UK, which is why are you saying they live all over this country and also in a specific place in this country? There's a couple examples.
They live in the Caribbean and also in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's the Caribbean.
I figured.
And they live in Nova Scotia, but also these Pacific Islands near Nova Scotia. Okay.
Mostly Central and South America, though. That's pretty much where that's their main area.
Yeah. So their diet, magnificent frigatebirds eat mostly seafood, including fish, squid, jellyfish, crustaceans. But their diet can depend on what's available, their preferred hunting method, and how old they are. So it's not cut and dry. The individuals have styles and preferences. But they'll also eat terrestrial animals sometimes. During mating season, males attract females by inflating their red throat sacs and clacking their beaks together to create a rapid-fire hollow tapping sound. It's almost like if you were drumming on a balloon.
They're called gular sacs. That's what the name of that big red thing is.
That's appropriate. I like that name. That's a good naming convention.
The gular sac?
Yeah. Females are attracted to males by the sound and bright red color, but they're believed to choose males by the nest site that he chooses to sit in. So the males will choose a nest site, and then they'll inflate their gulars and start drumming. And she'll come and sit in it and be like, I don't like the feng shui in this nest site.
It's like I
also
like
don't-
your gular, but
Yeah.
I don't like your feng shui.
Yeah, I don't like your housing choices.
I don't like your decor. You're good at gular, but you're bad at interior design.
I mean, it's
I'm
true
gonna
in
have to find
humans
somebody
too.
else.
Like, if you ask if you go out on a date and you got a good gular game, but then like whenever she sees your apartment and it's a pigsty and it doesn't have a good enough breeze for which you can lift out of it with your wings, then it's just not going to happen.
I never realized I appreciated the style of humor that just obliterates metaphors halfway through.
Just dropped like a bag of hammers.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, you can be as fancy as you want, but
It's
you
dropped.
you gotta have a nice place to bring her home to.
Okay. What else?
Oh, did you mention their wingspan is 8 feet long?
I didn't.
That is a big bird.
That's a big bird. Not as big as Big Bird, but it's a big bird. Although
That's
I think it probably is bigger than Big Bird's wingspan.
I bet you Big Bird's wings, because Big Bird's wingspan is probably about a human's wingspan. I don't know if you noticed there's a person in there. So there's
How dare
maybe
you
it's a
say
little
that.
bit more than 6 feet. I bet you it's like maybe 6'6".
They nest in trees and bushes, especially on islands with mangroves. They like islands with mangroves.
So do
And
I.
it's fairly traditional nesting style, where it's a little little bowl of branches and twigs that they just set upon something. They lay a single egg at a time. Both males and females sit on the egg for 50 to 60 days. After the egg hatches, the male parent will get on out, and the female will stay to provide for the hatchlings for about a year. And that's all I got for that.
All right. Time for the major fact, which I'm naming A Pirate's Flight for Me.
Ah, nice.
So, as you mentioned, Maggies can hunt for their food when needed. Get it? You like Maggies? They're magnificent. That's what I'd call it. That's what I'd call it. If I had a magnificent Frigatebird, I would definitely name it Maggie. But why get your own food when you can steal someone else's?
Because it's wrong.
They don't have the same moral compass that you do. You need to practice some cultural relativism. It's okay for them because they say it's okay.
Is that how it works?
So what they do is they've developed these aggressive harrying techniques to either snap up fish that other birds have just routed or flushed out, like another bird will scare flying fish and they'll all like jump out of the water and then they'll come and kind of snag the fish that they were going for. But their size and their numbers often allow them to single out individual seabirds like gulls and tropical birds, or even other lone frigate birds, to literally steal their lunch in a practice known as kleptoparasitism, which involves, stealing from others to sustain yourself, like the government. But the fun doesn't end if the other bird manages to actually swallow their prey when they see the frigate bird bullies approaching. The frigate bird will poke and prod the other bird until it vomits up its booty. It isn't as nasty as it sounds, since seabirds tend to actually try and swallow their food whole and like store it in their crop, which is a sac in their neck where they can store food temporarily and they can take it back to their nests to feed their their young and stuff like that. So rather than swallowing it and like starting the digestive process, they just get it in their mouths and keep it. So sometimes a whole and still living fish is spat back out, which the Frigatebird will go and try to catch before it falls in the water, and then they have to do the hunting, and that's no fun. So all this is done in midair, which leads to some pretty impressive in-flight acrobatics, kind of like two floppy blue angels doing their thing. There's actually a really good BBC David Attenborough like tense chase thing that they've edited together. So check it out. If the other bird is small enough, the Frigatebird might even grab them with their beak and pull them around until they open their mouths to squawk in distress and drop their treasure. Their favorite approach is an attack from above. So they'll just kind of be above, like that big red dragon thing from Avatar, and will look down at the birds that are looking down at the fish. And when the bird gets a fish, the Frigatebird will come down and attack the bird until it releases the fish it just got and then take the fish. This will like just sneak up from behind and just shake the devil out of him. But Frigatebirds aren't as maneuverable. They're big, but because they're big, they have a lot of speed and power behind their flaps, and so they can go faster on straightaway. But you know, if there's a lot of maneuvering, they might lose them. And also, they do their best to not actually get wet, despite being seabirds. They don't have a lot of oil in their feathers, so water doesn't like bead up. They don't have hydrophobic feathers like ducks and gulls do, and they can just float on the water and fly away without being soaked. Much like cormorants and aningas, like if they get in the water, they are going to be drenched, and then they can't fly anymore. So it's a delicate balancing act, because then the bird that they're attacking can just go really close to the water, and that's their safe zone. But ultimately, like, they're usually pretty successful at stealing other birds' food, and so bringing home the bacon involves thrashing the bird nerds until they give up their lunch money. It's like if Barbossa was mixed with that like 30-year-old high school bully from Napoleon Dynamite, the "Give me your tots" guy.
Yeah, the inexplicably old man.
Yeah. And yeah, so like if again, you should watch the BBC thing because it's really well edited, really well put together. They kind of like follow this one like gull that wants to bring food back to its hatchling, but it went out and got the food, but now it can't bring it back because every time it gets food, it gets attacked by Frigatebirds, and it's like there's a lot of, it's tense. My heart was pounding, but eventually, spoiler, he does get through. At least it's edited in a way that makes it seem like he gets through. But yeah, they're bully pirates. They wait until you dig up they're that big corporation in every like treasure hunting movie or game, where like the treasure hunter who knows all of the history and solves all the clues, like goes and does all the work, and then the corporation just like blows a hole in the wall and points a gun at them and takes all the treasure. That's them. So they don't get arrested at the end.
They are Nazis.
They're Nazis. They're Sean Bean. They're all the guys from the Uncharted series, all the guys from the Tomb Raider series. Like every single one of these is exactly the same. There is one lone, very smart, charismatic person with a few friends that goes and solves all the problems, all the puzzles. They risk death. They climb up on all of these things. And they finally make it to the treasure, and then and then the Nazis just blow a hole in the wall and say, "Thank you so much, Indiana Jones, for solving this riddle for us. We will be taking the Ark of the Covenant and leaving. Goodbye."
They should make one where they our hero is always late. Like the bad guys are just as good at history as they are.
they have a good history man on their side too.
Yeah, but
or it's like Indiana Jones is trying to get to it, but like Laura Croft just has like has more resources. She's actually wealthy, so she just hired a bunch of like goons to help her get to the treasure first, and so Indy has to like go up against the Tomb Raider.
They use AI to solve the puzzles.
they Google it. Why do I need to know ancient Koine Greek to solve this puzzle? I got Google. But yeah, and despite how formulaic those movies and games are, I love it every single time. Also, National Treasure does the same exact thing. All 3 times or twice or however many movies of those that they made. I've seen the first 2. I don't know if they continued it. But
I think The Mummy does the same thing.
The Mummy? No. It starts off that way, but then the Mummy is released, and then it's all about not dying to the Mummy.
Right, exactly.
It's less about like getting the treasure. It's more about putting the Mummy away. I love the Mummy. It's such a great movie.
It's very good.
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
All right. That was the magnificent Frigatebird. Well, by the way, I wanted to mention this. According to the Wikipedia article, Christopher Columbus encountered magnificent frigatebirds during his famous voyage to bring smallpox to the Western Hemisphere in 1492. And he says that, quote, they saw a bird that is called a frigatebird, which makes the boobies throw up what they eat in order to eat it herself. She does not sustain herself on anything else.
Wow, so they knew its whole spiel back then.
Yeah, and they also say it's a seabird, but it does not alight on the sea nor depart from land 20 leagues. So yeah, they noticed that it doesn't like rest on the water because it can't. It would get soaked, and it attacks other birds for its food. So, and apparently it was attacking blue-footed boobies, which is a kind of bird with a funny name. So yeah, Christopher Columbus noticed these guys. I don't know if that makes them better or worse for you, but we've known about them for a while and how rude they are.
It's probably one of those things where the Vikings were actually the first to see frigatebirds.
Yeah, there's probably like Leif Erikson carved a frigatebird into one of his like warships, and we should have statues of Leif Erikson because the Vikings were much less morally reprehensible than Christopher Columbus. So for you out there in Podcastia, inflate your gular sack. Take what you can and give nothing back. Like the magnificent frigatebird here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Nice. So you had Pirates of the Caribbean in your shtick the entire time.
Yeah, my plan. I haven't done the intro yet, but I'm going to do it all with a piratey accent.
That's fun.